biology student people who aren't here, there's a video here. Look, basically we are talking about the journey so far in hospitality. Now, we have 4 units. I'm going to do a little bit of a mind map, might take a little bit of time. So you've got use hygienic practices. And we have participate in safe work practices. So I'm going to, all right, so that's cluster A. Cluster B is clean kitchen premises. And for you guys out there in biology, I hope that you're enjoying your mangroves, all right, while this is happening. So food preparation equipment. All right, so these are the 4 units. So this is A, this is B. Now cluster A and cluster B are delivered over 2 terms. All right, so you're not going to get all the information. It's not lockstep like it is in a lot of faculties where you do the little unit and then you move on. We've actually got 4. Now when we start to have a look at how this works, so at one side we've got practical, all right, so a practical subject, and we've got the theory. Now as I've mentioned a few times, the practical and the theory actually meshes together. So when we actually started here with food safety, this is one aspect of that. So we looked at hygiene. All right. What are the 2 different types of hygiene in the kitchen?
Personal and environmental.
Yeah, so personal. Now for that we don't spend a lot of time, but environmental, I'm just going to put enviro. So what are the aspects of environmental hygiene?
Biological.
What's that?
Biological.
No, they're the food safety group. So food safety types. So we've got biological. What's the other 2? Chemical. And physical. Yeah, that's it. Okay. All right. So this environmental one of the walls, the floor, the ceiling. Okay. Floor, walls, garbage area. All right. Is this making sense?
Yeah.
All right. Area, and we have fixed equipment. Okay. All right. So that's part of this unit. Does that make sense? So on the practical side, we've done all of these different things for food safety. That's also cutting boards. All right. So what are the colours of the cutting boards? What are they for? So what's red? Neg. Now I'm not going to write all of these up, but the cutting boards, so we want to avoid cross-contamination. We wanted to get some length. So even though we're doing theory here, the understanding with the cutting boards makes a huge difference here is the colours of the cutting board. Okay, so I'm going through the scope here. So we had those how to wash hands. Then we basically went to environmental hygiene. Now, one of the other aspects of here is cleaning. So even though a lot of the theory up here is actually practical, okay? So what's an SDS? So we're cleaning the kitchen, environmental hygiene over here, which is linked to this, and we've got cleaning chemicals. So what is an SDS? Great. Okay. How about you on the biological endeavour over there? What do you think, Mitchell? What is an SDS?
SDS, don't know.
Okay, safety data sheet. Remember we did that activity? All right, safety data sheet. and it basically tells me how to use a chemical, what happens if I spill it or swallow it, what are the safety hazards of it, and we have things like grill cleaner that can be quite caustic and quite dangerous, okay? So in the middle of this we have work health and safety, okay? Slips, trips and falls. Falls, okay? We haven't really touched on this too, the uniform. So what's the safety features of a uniform?
Double breasting.
Yeah, double breasting, yeah. What else?
Leather shoes,
Yeah, why do you use leather shoes?
to prevent spills and if like you drop something heavy on your foot.
Yeah, okay, so leather shoes. Okay. So we've got cleaning over here. What's the difference between cleaning and sanitising?
Cleaning is getting rid of the dirt and physical stuff, and sanitizing is
It's reducing the microbes on the bench. So cleaning, we've got heavy equipment, so we've got stoves, we've got floors, we have the dishwasher, all right, we've got pots. Okay, all of those things. Now sanitising, how do we sanitise?
there's a spray.
Okay, so with spray,
Also,
yeah. So we learn all about that, that's this unit here. Okay, but it links to that and it links to that, okay? So then we had the practical side over here, so, all right, so at the same time we learned knife skills, all right? Precision cuts. I'm not going to go, we're not going to write them down, but tell me, what is Bryn 1? What size is Bryn 1?
3 by 3 by 3
Yeah.
millimeters.
Okay. So you've got precision cuts, you have recipes, we have sources, all right? All of these things link, all right? But at the same time, food safety is part of that, and we've been talking about all of these things at the same time. Okay, so once we've done that, then we were starting to classify. So we've got cutting boards here, we've got the different types of knives and utensils that we use in the kitchen, all right? So what kind of knives have you got in your kit?
paring now.
Okay, so we've got paring, we've got cook's knife. Okay, so at the same time, so we've got these three aspects in, have I got a red pen? So in the practical we're using, oh great, we'll use that. How long's it on the video?
8 minutes and 12 seconds.
Okay, so we've got that, we've got heavy equipment, so stoves, all right, electrical equipment that we're using too, all right? So this is just a revision at the moment, looking at what we're doing. Okay, we then, throughout, we're actually talking about WHS all the time, about your uniform, tying your hair, making sure that pots are, that you're using the right mittens and PPE, okay? So I'm gonna add PPE in here, okay? Now the other thing is the flip modules and how this all ties into all of these different things, okay? Because to be honest, I could run theory lessons every class and no practical, and we would just about get through chalk and talk with all of the theory, but we can't. There's too much theory in this course to do it that way, okay? So coming into here with food safety systems over here, we're starting to introduce HACCP. What does HACCP stand for?
Hazard,
Yeah, hazard and?
contamination.
Have you done the flip module on that one?
Yes, I
You
have.
have, okay. So this is where all of these different things are going to come together, okay? So it's hazard and critical control point. There are 7 steps to HACCP, and at the moment it's just an introduction, but it's about, this whole system is about reducing hazards in your kitchen. Alright? So the next thing we then went on to do is we're actually going to start to look at legislation. Alright, so we've got food safety up here, we've got WHS and the practical and our units. Now, we're actually going to learn legislation in two. Now, I'm putting the legislation in the middle because this is what binds everything together in the industry. So we have two arms of it. We have the food safety here, okay? And we also have the work health and safety. Now, when you did your first cluster task, not everything's been taught at that point, and it's just not possible. And there are most HSC courses, you can't get through all that content in one hit. So this is where we're at the moment. Okay, so you guys have practical skills, you know how to use your knives. All of this theory all ties together. So we're at this point now. But let's go further. So how does this all come together is really important, okay? So now I wish I had another board. I'm going to over here. So we've got our units of competency over here. This side, so this is HSC time, okay? So we're looking forward to the HSC exam at the end because this is dual accredited. It's not like other subjects that maybe aren't practical where we do that lockstep and we do an essay and then we do that. It doesn't work in hospitality for a whole range of reasons. But in the HSC, we've got all of this TAFE stuff. This is TAFE, all of this is TAFE, but it's also HSC, all right? So in the HSC, and you already have access, if you can just show the board there for a minute, when you go into your hidden channel, you'll see there's a HSC examination page, all right? In here is the syllabus core content. Now I've taken some of the bits and pieces out of it just to make it a little bit easier. Now, don't worry, actually I haven't put it in there yet, but I will. So basically we have cores and electives. These are all core, but we have electives coming up. So we do the electives for the TAFE side, but up here you have a hygiene core. All right. We have a safety core. We have hospitality I just call it hospitality, but it's actually hospitality information core. And then we have the kitchen operations core. Okay. So this is where they draw all the content out of the whole course, not the practical, all of this. And in the HSC, they then draw from these core areas here, okay, for the exam. Now, I deliberately did not give you all the information the first couple of weeks. I reckon it would have made your head spin anyway. Now, you'll see here there are HSC core notes for the hygiene mandatory focus area. Now, we have these areas. Throughout the course in Year 11 and Year 12, I'm preparing you for the exam. But it's not my main focus, because when I'm focusing on all of this in the TAFE side, it's actually preparing you for the exam at the same time. So let me show you what it looks like. Actually, I'm just going to digress 1 minute. Flip modules. How does this actually link into everything? All right, so here's our flip modules. Now the competency-based training one is more an introduction. That's not really going to be the personal and environmental hygiene. So I'm just going to put an FP. So you've got an FP up here. Flipped, FM. So there's a flip module there. All right. Then we go into knife handling. Over, where's the knife? All right. Flip module. All right. Precision cuts. That's in here. So it's flip modules of the keep on going. Act, regulation and codes of practice. Yeah. Then food safety legislation, which is here. HACCP introductions over here. All right, so we've got flip modules there. The other part of the puzzle is these units. Okay, so let's go into clean. So I'm not making you write double. All right, so the key here, you'll see here the safety data. All right, so when we did that activity, this is a one note activity here. I'm just going to put one in. All right, then up here is another one note activity. This brings it all together. Now, the final part of this puzzle is understanding each focus area. All right, so if you think of this as being a funnel, so you've got all this information that's starting to come in and working together. So part of educational research, you know how some people just sit there and they take notes in a class? You don't ever read them again, or maybe you read them at the end of the course. And it's quite comfortable, it's quite easy, because I can just literally take the notes. I don't really need to think about it. But metacognition, it's learning to learn, is actually writing those notes for key concepts, which are all over here, and then actually bringing that together into this structure that's going to be helpful for our exam and for the final understanding. But because we have 4 units going at the same time, we can't bring it together that quickly. Now, we are almost at the end of use hygienic practices. Now, this document here, is anyone familiar with Cornell note structure? Okay, so part of that metacognition for you guys is bringing all of these bits and pieces that are all over the place into a structure. Now, I have no problem if you guys want to print this out and you want to write it, but it needs to actually be submitted up here. So there's 2 things. One's this flipped core unit map. Actually, I'm going to show you this separately. So the Cornell notes for this first core. So in year 11, you're going to do this core and this core. And in year 12, you're going to write this core and this core. So by the time we hit this time next year, my year 12s are already set. So it's not about revising, it's about working on writing questions and doing all of that type of thing. So you'll see here at the top, the notes are, you're not rewriting notes at all. The notes are going to come from the flip modules. The notes are going to come from the class notebook and Teams folders, which has all of the resources that you have in class. Okay. I'm not going to go through the Cornell note structure today. This isn't due until the end of the term. Okay, and the safety one won't be due until the end of the term. But basically, for this associated competency in the HSC exam is this unit. It's that one. Okay, so that's the unit that links to this one here. All right, so what I've done, here's the syllabus stop. So in each area in this program, and you don't need to know this, this program has areas which are part of the training package. You need to add notes to this. So I'm going to go back to this. I'm going to go, okay, well, important hygienic work practices. Well, there's the flip module. I've already got my notes. So I'm going to cut and paste them. I'm going to put them in here. I'm going to put notes for that, understanding. And what you're doing is you're actually reviewing all of the information that we've got so far, and you're tying it into this structure, and then you're going to tuck that away. You're going to put it away. We're going to talk about this the whole time anyway. But these 4 units are the core of hospitality. So you know these really well. You're going to do really well. Okay, and this has really worked well for the last 2 cohorts. Okay, so there are the summary notes. You'll see here food hazards, for the different types of food hazard. Well, there they are. There's the food safety types, and this prepares you for the exam. Control measures to eliminate and minimise hazards and their risks. Well, HACCP. the legislation, and we're at that point, we're going to start talking legislation. You need to know about hazard and critical control points, and there's a unit in term 5 about this. Will prepare you. Difference between an act of regulation and a code of practice. Well, there's a flip module there that tells you that, and that's where we're going now. Then the food safety legislation, we're doing that today. Food Act, Food Reg, and the Australian, and understanding responsibilities for food safety and food handlers, food safety, and then compliance. So we're actually going to take all of these bits and pieces and we're going to put it into a structure, and then you can put it away. All right, so you'll submit that. So this is how the course works, right? So even though it might seem like I'm doing all these bits and pieces all over the place, it's actually coming together. Now the other thing that I've just locked you into your work placements, which will happen in August, so next term. This is when this really comes together, because we do not do English and then we do maths. And the maths and English and everything's together. And it's the same in hospitality in the kitchen. There's work health and safety, there's policies, there's procedures, there's types of the way your chef wants you to do the recipe, consistency, workflow, and that's another thing that I haven't put in here. So for everyone on the biology excursion, thank you for listening. Hopefully you've watched it the whole way, but I really wanted everyone to have an idea of that. So if you could hit the stop button on that.